with Max and friends. We're live with Max is back. You want to turn around? Look. I know, but look who's on the screen. It's Brian.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Max.
Hello.
How are you, Max? This is
friend?
Tila. This is Tila here with me right now. I have a couple of Amazons with me today. 2 Amazons. So this is Tila, who knows Max, who's a double yellow-headed Amazon, and Tila is 18 years old. You got anything to say for yourself, Tila? You're a little camera shy?
It's okay, Tila. I know it's weird to be on a stream.
What do you think? Where do you want to go? Yeah, so Tila's here, and then I also have over here. I'm gonna have to use a rope perch for Sid because she's a little bit aggressive today. Oh, come on, you silly Willy. Let's bring you over like this maybe instead. Are you a little bit aggressive today, aren't you? I know. This is Sid, and Sid is a yellow-naped Amazon, and Sid is about, how old are you, Sid? You are 22. Will you step up? Come on. Come on, Speedy. No, not right now. Okay. We'll try you later for a step up. And well, I know you're being, there you go. How about you come and sit here in front of the camera? How's that? So you can, if everyone can see how her tail is wide open, so that's a little bit of a sign of aggression when it comes to an Amazon. And this is their hormonal time. So she's a little more hormonal than usual. Usually she's quite friendly. But she's a little bit hormonal right now, and therefore you can see that tail. When that tail is open like that, she's telling me, I don't want to step up right now with you. So I'm best to be careful because I might get bit if I get too forward with her. She might just bite me because she's angry, but she might calm down. Yeah, maybe.
What
maybe not.
Tikal, I'm going to move Max out of the picture for a minute. And I'm going to shift inwards.
Another Amazon.
That's Tikal.
Hi, Tikal.
Come on, Tikal. You want steps? Step here. Yeah, Tikal's being a little bit hormonal too.
It is the season.
It is. Tikal is a 49-year-old Amazon. Isn't that right, Tikal? Yeah. Oh, you're going to destroy that, are you? How about we go here? I said so. No, we're not doing. Yeah, Tikal likes to destroy vet wrap. It's one of his favorite hobbies. Oh, we got you up. We got you up, buddy. I know. That's so terrible.
49. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. He was actually purchased in Guatemala, and his original owners assume that he was a baby when he was purchased. But he could be older, right, Tikal? Yeah. So we're his second home, but we've been in his life for the last 15 years. His is that funny, Max?
I love the Amazon. I love the laughs of the birds. You know, it's interesting you say that he was from South America or Central America. The one thing I've noticed, my first Amazon I ever had was Antonio. He would have been 30s or 40s. I adopted him. He was quite sick at the time I adopted him, but he was a bird from the Amazon. And boy, really different. Smelled different, just different sounds than say a Tila or a Sid. That would be their surrender, or these are adopted birds, rescues, but they're also birds that have been breeded in Canada and very different. An Amazon that comes from a breeder in Canada or breeded in Canada versus an Amazon from the wild.
Oh yeah, yeah. Max, do you want to turn around and look at Brian? Oops.
Hi, Max.
Look at Brian. We just turned your thing.
I'm gonna go play.
What's the matter?
Oh, hello, Amazons. And then this is Frost,
Hi, Frost.
And Frost is a Congo African gray. Frost is a little bit friendlier. Amazons are not too friendly these days. Again, the hormonal season. But Frost, you're a little bit friendlier. Do you have anything you want to say, Frost? No? You're on TV. You're on live stream, Frost. And Frost is about 20. So all three of my birds are, except I have a little conure who's older, but all three of my birds are all, in that 20 age range. 18 for Sid, 20 here. And what did I say? Oh, no. Tila, you're 18. Sid, you're 22.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got the elder statesman is Tikal. And Tikal came to live with us permanently after his mom passed away last year. We're still in good contact with his dad, but Tikal's always had a bit of a relationship with him, shall we say. But
Yeah.
Tikal's been staying with me for 15 years whenever, yeah, quack, quack. It's Tikal quacking away. I know. But Tikal's been staying with me for 15 years when they travel. Some years he'd spend more time here than at home. So he just sort of thinks of this as his home. It's always been, he thinks he's had two homes. So it was a very easy decision.
Yeah.
So he's 49. Max, whose tail we have on screen right now, is 30. Mango laughing in the background is 26. Sorry, I had to stop and think for a minute. And then Tico, the gray, is 29.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how long they live, right? And I think that's always a big thing for parrot owners is to be aware of an African gray, an Amazon can easily live 50, 70 years. And so, like, how long was someone like Max? Max could live probably past 75, right? If healthy.
Yeah. There's some that live into their hundreds. I mean, but I always tell people that Max has, would you like one? That good? Well, how about we don't throw it there? Would you like one? No yam? Okay. Max could easily live 80, 90, 100 if he's healthy. But that's a big if. I mean, it depends on his diet. It depends on exercise. It depends on so many factors. Same as us, right? I could live 70, 80, 90, 100, but it all depends on my health too.
I wanted come here, buddy. Come and say hi. This is my elder one. I got to be careful because the Amazons want to eat him. Yeah, you guys be nice to Kiwi. He's just little. Both of you Amazons. This is Kiwi.
Hi, Kiwi.
And Kiwi is Kiwi's a little sick, but he's all better. And he is probably about 30. So that's pretty old for a little conure.
Yeah. Hi,
Anything
Kiwi.
to say, Kiwi? Kiwi, I'm not going to have you out here long because the Amazons will want to have you as for your lunch if I'm not careful. Yes, you Amazons are not nice to Kiwi all the time. Come here. Come here. Come and say hello. Come on, Sid. Yeah. Sid's a girl, whereas Tila, the double yellow-headed, Tila is a boy. Do you have anything to say for yourself there today?
There you go, Max.
Any questions on the live stream about Amazons?
Yeah.
Or grays or any other birds?
We forgot to introduce somebody really, really important. This is our friend Brian. This is Max's special friend, Brian. You've seen him on some of our videos. Max always gets excited to see him. Right now, Max is just having a little bit of lunch and trying to figure out why Brian is not here and he's on the screen.
Hi, Max. I always love seeing Max.
Oh, Max is such a doll. Is that right, Max? And then, of course, I'm here too, and I'm just going to peek in, wave hello, and I'm Nicole. So, yeah, so we just thought we'd do something a little bit different. Bit of a guest stream, chat about Amazons, chat about parrots. Max is eating a yam right now. It's cooked, so he's quite happy. So who do we have? We've got Karen, we've got Marco, Appleby, April. Welcome, everybody. So if you've got questions, feel free to toss them up on the chat. We'll field them. We'll talk about anything parrot related. Yeah. So Brian, tell me a little bit about your flock. They were most of them are adopted from rescues. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they're all adopted. They all have pretty much so Greta's roots, all three of them. So Sid, who's with me right now, Tila, who I had on screen earlier, and Frosted Gray, all came via Greta's Roots, which is a shelter rescue down in southern Alberta in Lethbridge. So we're all surrendered. Now, I would say with all three of these, they came from good homes. They didn't come from bad homes. Just came from homes where, for whatever reason, personal reasons, they had to surrender their birds. So obviously, all of these have all come from decent homes, and they're good parrots. Okay, the Amazon's just hormonal right now, so they're more aggressive than usual, but they're very good parrots, good homes, and lovely birds. And then Kiwi's a little more of a don't really know Kiwi's story. He's had a number of homes. He's obviously whoa, sorry, I jumped. I know you guys made me jump. Yeah, was that funny? Well, I didn't think it was funny. And Kiwi, I would say Kiwi, I don't know his history enough. I just know he's had a lot of homes, but he's a wonderful little conure. Conures can be a little nippy at times, and Kiwi is just not a nippy conure. He's such a beautiful conure.
Yeah. Was he the one that Lori was fostering for a while?
That is correct. Lori was fostering Kiwi. And so Kiwi came with a brother or sister, and Lori kept the brother or sister, but decided not to keep Kiwi. And Kiwi's just very, very good with me.
Kiwi loves men, though, right?
Well, he definitely, you know what? When I first got him, I would say yes. Now he's actually much better with everybody. Bite me. I know you guys are all a little bit bitey these days. Tila, come on. Be nice. You were nice earlier. Come on, step up.
Huh?
Tila. This is hormonal season is not a fun season with Amazons.
No, it's not.
Yes, what can I help you, Sid? But yeah, no. So that's my flock, 4 birds. So Sid, yellow nape, Tila, double yellow-headed, Amazon. Kiwi is a pineapple conure, and then Sid is Frost is a Congo African gray, and that's my flock.
Awesome. Brian, we've got somebody in the comments. John Anderson. The username is appearing a little bit odd as Appleby, but they're your cousin.
Hey, John, how are you?
This is awesome. It's amazing what a small world things are. Yeah, we've got our flock for the longest time. It was 2.5. I always jokingly called Tikal half because he only spent half of his time here when his people were traveling. They're good friends of mine. And yeah, so I mean, he would just basically come over. I'd pop up a cage. I've got a spare cage. And Tikal would hang out here, then go home. But last year, things really, really changed. Tikal came for a month and ended up staying basically a lot longer. When our friend Sheila got sick, Tikal stayed with us because they just couldn't handle a bird at the same time. And then, our good friend Ted said, "Hey, what do you think if he stays?" And I said, we've always been open to that. So yeah, so he's here, but he still will go back to visit his Ted. But short visits, or Ted will come up to visit. So Tikal has a little bit of continuity there, right, Betty? Mango joined us as well, and Mango is his Pips and Pops, Val and Charles, and I think you know them well, longtime members of the Parrot Club. It just came to the point that it was time to find him a new situation. And what was really, really important to them, excuse me, Tikal, we're not going down there. We're not going to go down there because there's dark things. Yeah, and I don't want you down there. I said so. You got caught. I know. But the best situation was one where he could remain in contact with his people, and we've made sure that that's happened. You know, I think Mango still is a little confused about what's going on, but you know, we'll have phone calls. They'll come visit him, and Mango just absolutely loves that. But even though I know. I know. This is you. You're quacking. Here.
I always wonder what they remember of their previous homes, and if they sometimes, if they're here thinking, well, when am I going to go home, or am I going to go home? I always wonder what's going through their mind. I know with Fozzie was was an Amazon that unfortunately lost to cancer at the end of the summer, but Fozzie was a lost bird, so he was a lost bird, and they couldn't find the owners. So I ended up adopting him from Night Owl in Vancouver. But with Fozzie, he loved dogs and he loved babies. So I came from conclusion that his previous house, wherever he lived, must have had dogs and a baby or babies. But I always wondered, what he thought the whole time, because I think with him, he unfortunately got lost, and we don't know where he came from, and they were unable to find the owners, which is unfortunate. But he was an Amazon. He was a yellow crowned Amazon. So again, a little different, kind of in between, a little more yellow than Sid and a little less yellow than Tila.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I always wonder what they think, what's going through their mind about their previous homes, and not always knowing all the history of the previous homes.
It's always hard when you don't know the history. I mean, Tico came to us. We adopted Tico as a baby, and I'm just trying to chase after Tikal here, who decided to walk. Do you do a Mac? No, we're not going to grab that power cord. No, I know power cords look interesting, but we're not going to grab the power cord. So Tico we adopted when he was 6 months old, and that's 29 years ago. Today, I would not adopt a baby. I would adopt from a rescue. Absolutely no two ways about it. But, we really haven't been trying to grow our flock. It just happens organically sometimes, right, Tikal? Yeah. Max, when I met him, he really, really needed us. He was living in a basement, and he was attacking his previous owners. He knew how to do two things, which was yell and bite. Yeah. And he was, I joke that he's the Amityville horror with wings, but it took years before I could handle him. So he's not always been the sweetie that we know today. But the last thing his owner said is they contacted me to foster him. Do you want to turn around, buddy? To foster him temporarily. A week, 2 weeks on the outside. That was 20 years ago. And they just said, how about you find him a new home? And it's so hard to find some of these parrots a new home, especially when they're acting out. They also told me, by the way, he loves men, hates women. So I thought, oh dear, this is not going to work out too well. But Max has made an exception. Like, it's so wild seeing him with you, Brian, when he visits with you or some of the other guys. He loves guys. I mean, he just loves hanging out with guys. But when you've noticed yourself, it's funny, but you've noticed when he gets tired, if we're out in an event and he sees you, he'll hang out with you until he gets tired, and then it's just, sorry, I'm staying with mom.
It is so true. Yeah. Yeah, definitely when he's tired, he doesn't want to come, and yet when he's not, he loves coming over, and he's such a beautiful cockatoo. He's just such a wonderful bird, and he's so friendly and cuddly with me. I find it's quite amazing. But he's sure but he does not like Kiwi. He doesn't like the little bird.
Well, the little ones are kind of scary. They flit about. Like, he's used
I
to the
know.
rest of the flock.
Exactly.
The worst bite I actually got from Max involved Tikal here. And you're thinking, how did that happen? Well, Tikal had just come over, and it was just after I'd moved into this place. So 9 years ago. That long ago already?
Wow.
9, 10 years ago? Yeah. I mean, I've been here for a decade, haven't I, buddy? Um, but Tikal, do you want to turn around or do you want to poop? Yeah.
I'm gonna bring Kiwi back into the screen.
Yep.
I'm gonna move the Amazons this time so he doesn't feel threatened by them.
Awesome. But
Come here.
what happened is Tikal loves sitting on shoulders. And it used to be in my old house, Tikal would walk out of the room, sit on my shoulder. Whereas in the new house, it's an open floor plan. So, they don't have a bedroom, they've got the main floor. Yeah, I think I'm a little crazy that just giving the birds the main floor of the house. But hey, I've got a bedroom and an office upstairs. I've got a place to retreat to. But Tikal climbed up on my shoulder as he was used to doing. And Max was out, and Max actually was on my arm. And Max decided there's something really wrong with this. Us, we're not climbing down, honey. No, we're not. We're not. Oh, I'm going to trick you with this. I'm going to trick you. Come on up. Not us. We're going to
So
climb up.
this one is Kiwi. This says Kiwi. So Kiwi is a pineapple conure. And again, Kiwi's about 30. And he was feeling a little sick a few weeks ago, and he's all better now. But he's pretty. I call him the elder. He's an elder conure, but he's very cute. You can see a nice little red tail that he has. But you can see his feathers are a little molted. Just looks he looks old in comparison to if you compared him. If you put a young conure beside him, you can see how this guy looks definitely an elder. But he's a wonderful little parrot.
How did you figure out his age?
Well, it's just through the history, trying to figure out. It's more of an estimate than anything else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So not sure on the exact age, but just based upon the history of him, from what I can tell, he must be in that range. Do you want some water, buddy? One thing about Kiwi that's really. Do you want to drink some water? Yeah? No? No. One thing Kiwi loves chamomile tea. He loves his tea. Don't you? Yeah, you're not going to comment about tea. But yeah, no, it's and talk about. It's funny you were saying about your birds having the main floor. I have a rabbit coming. My daughter's rabbit's coming for the summer. It's a 13-pound white bunny rabbit, and it gets its own bedroom. You think that's funny, Sid? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
We're trying to chase Tikal here. He's going for some laps. I'm just going to zoom out a bit here.
Does anybody on the live stream? Is there anyone on the live stream that has an Amazon by any chance? Just curious.
Yeah. Yeah. Sherry says it's a great live. She's enjoying herself. It's so awesome to see folks. Yeah.
Yeah, I see April mention I love conures. So April, this is my first conure I've ever had, and I swore I would never get a conure, and I absolutely love them. They're amazing. I would get another conure in a heartbeat. I obviously only a rescue. Yeah, I see there. Yeah, 3 cockatiels. Yeah, cockatiels are also amazing. I had cockatiels as a kid. And my daughter, we had a cockatiel when she was in high school. Also a wonderful bird. I'm new here. So this one is not a green cheek. This one is a pineapple conure. But green cheeks are probably the most. I would say almost. I think they're probably the most common of conures are green cheeks. But conures, cockatiels are just amazing parrots.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So there, I see April. Your mom and dad have an umbrella cockatoo.
Yeah. Hello.
So Nicole, what's the difference again between an umbrella and a Moluccan?
So the umbrella, their crest feathers sort of come out and they sort of make sort of more of a rounded crest, whereas a Moluccan tends to be a little bit more upwards, not quite like sulfur. Do you want to show off your crest, honey? Max, can we show a crest? Yay! So he's got his crown here. He also has some salmon colored feathers in his crest. Oh boy, Max. Oh, so much fun. Are we doing the dance?
No. Hey, Max. I normally wouldn't use a rope perch this much, but they're just so hormonal these days. I've been bit a few times in the last few days, so I'm suddenly a little bit nervous and using. But normally I don't use a rope perch. I usually just use my hands. They're usually fine stepping up, but not at the moment. Come on,
Yeah.
buddy.
With Tikal. Max. With Tikal, he'll climb onto my shoulder
Hey, Max.
if I don't use a perch. So, all right, Tikal, do you want scritchies? No scritchies. Okay, that's fine. You just saw him flapping away while Max showed off his crest. But yeah, so that's what the Moluccan crest looks like. Quite the crown, Max.
Beautiful crown, Max.
Yeah. And to get him to do that, I just danced. He loves to dance with me. Hey, we're going to leave your brother alone. No nose.
For those on the live stream, you can see right now I'm giving, it's taking it a little bit, but he was taking a bit of a head scratch. Birds love their heads to be scratched.
Oh, yeah. And it's a nice, safe place, too, that's not too hormonal. Hey,
Correct.
Tikal at this time of year, if I, even touch his foot, like I did a stream with Tikal in the tub yesterday, and I touched Tikal's foot. I was looking at his foot and just saying, you need a pedicure. And he just went absolutely hormonal and decided, oh, hubba hubba. So I recognized right at that point that Tikal was really hormonal, and I just backed right off and said, okay, we're not going to do that. We don't want to encourage that behavior. But Max is pretty good. He prefers to be touched on his back before his head. And I just watch him. It's pretty clear when Max gets excited. Thank you, Cal.
Yeah, Max, for sure. One thing I love about the Amazons is if they're a little bit on the aggressive side, they'll pin their eyes and they will fan their tail, and then they're just warning you to say, hey, I'm a little aggressive, just be careful. The African Grey, if the African Grey doesn't want something to be picked up, they'll fluff up all their feathers. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare my hand, buddy. Fluff up all their feathers, and then that's sort of it's almost like they've fluffed themselves up to be bigger.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Greys are also, for those on the phone, greys are lovely birds. They're a quieter bird than an Amazon. Amazons can be a little bit noisy. Greys are a lot quieter, but I do find greys are messier. The way they eat their food, they throw their food around a little more. They don't like to leave stuff in the cage, which means you might get a little more seed or food on the floor. Whereas the Amazons generally keep the seed and the food in their cages. They're less messy, but they're definitely noisier.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to, Tikal, I'm going to switch you out for Tikal, okay? So we're going to come do a quick, we're not going to do a quick close-up. Max is too close to the camera. Max, you be good. You be good, buddy. I'm going to switch you around. Oops. Go this way. Rotate here. I'm going to check if you're on camera or not. There you go, Max. I'm just going to take Tikal home because he's getting a little excited right now, buddy. Okay. Hi, Chico.
Thanks, Emily. Yes, Frost is a very beautiful African gray. I love the grays. I love the red tail on the gray. Such a beautiful tail.
Yeah. Now I've got Chico over here. I'm just going to shift Max out of the way. Sorry, Max. I'm wheeling you out of the way. And I'm going to go in for a close-up on Tico. Tico is, whoops, too close. Way too close. Oh, got to be a nice medium here.
There you go.
There you go, Tico.
Two African grays. Hello. Hi, Tico.
Good.
Frost.
Oh,
Yeah, I know
well,
someone
you see
posted
that.
about the hormone. Like, so not all birds get hormonal, but um, definitely these two Amazons that I have get hormonal. But I've had Amazons in the past that weren't as hormonal, but it's usually this time of year. So this will go on probably till about the end of April, and then they'll be fine. But you just got to be extra careful during this particular season. But yeah, it's I've had Amazons that never were hormonal. These two definitely get hormonal. Might also be a case that I have a boy and girl in the house, which might just make the hormones a little bit worse if it was two boys or two girls. I'm not sure, but I think that could be part of it too.
Oh, yeah. It's always interesting when you talk about mixing birds. I mean, one thing I've always heard is you cannot have two Moluccans in a house. Apparently, I broke that rule, but there's been situations with Night Owl with Greyhaven in BC where they had one Moluccan climb into another cage and basically just go after the other Moluccan. And they can be very territorial at times. Max and Mango seem to ignore each other a lot, which I think is kind of cool. Max isn't particularly interested in Mango. Mango's not particularly interested in Max. This, I think, is a good thing. Like, they're not aggressive to each other. They'll play together, but they're not trying to get in each other's space.
Yeah,
Max really likes Q, who's another Moluccan, a female, and he just goes nuts when he sees her. Like, he only has eyes for Q.
interesting. Yeah, I find my two are they definitely are okay together, which is nice. It's always nice if your birds like each other, but you
Oh
always got
yeah.
to be careful with birds. You can never leave your eyes off them. I have to be careful with the little conure because the little conure likes to tease the Amazons, and then the Amazons are, of course, a lot bigger than the conure, and they don't like it. But that's just the little conure. He thinks I think Kiwi probably believes that he's the same size as the Amazons.
Oh yeah. Little bird, big bird attitude. Yeah, Tico
Come
grew
on,
up with
say hi.
a
Come on.
lovebird, and the lovebird could intimidate him. And huge size difference between a lovebird and a gray. But Tico thinks he's the king of the perch. He gets along quite well with the rest of the flock. A couple of months ago, you got your foot bit pretty good though, because you thought that Tical's cage was your own. That was a big error in judgment, Tico. And poor Tico too. He got tossed into his cage because I saw blood at the bottom of Tical's cage. And I'm panicking about it, going, "Uh oh, you just attacked Tical." And Tical was perfectly fine. He just had a bad taste in his mouth. And Tico's sitting in his cage going, "What did I do?" And it's like, well, you went where you're not supposed to go. But Tico's pretty well behaved. Tico, though, if he does not like something, he can get aggressive. One day I actually reached behind, and this is one of those dumb parrot owner moments. It's not his fault, it's my fault. But he climbed behind the couch. So I reached in behind the couch with my hand and I just reached right in there.
Yeah.
And he said, "This is my nest." And I
Yep.
didn't see his body language. And I'm sure that he warned me off. And it was dark back there. And he had the hand that was not allowed to be there. He bit me hard enough to break my finger.
Oh wow. Ouch.
Oh, yeah. So then I taught him about the stick and climbing onto the stick. So if he ever gets anywhere I don't want him, I just use the stick to pull him out. But I use it regularly so he remembers that, yeah, you step up on it, you walk around on it. It's your friend. It's the way that you can get transported. Especially if I'm reaching inside of his cage and he's got a pumpkin, he'll get territorial about that. So it's like, yeah, you can just step up on the stick, and that way I don't get bit, and then we'll interact when you're out and you're on neutral territory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so true. I saw a question from Sherry. I have four birds, Sherry. I have two Amazons, an African gray, and a little conure. I'm keeping the conure a little bit away because the Amazons don't always like the conure, so I usually don't like them too close to the Amazons. And then yeah, again, I normally don't use rope perches. They're just a little bit aggressive. And then yeah, no, that's how many I have. And I love watching the gray as the gray is just listening so intently to the whole conversation. But grays, grays are quite peaceful, I will say. Yeah, they're more peaceful than the Amazons, aren't they, Sid?
Yeah.
Are you going
Well,
to be
Tico's
friendly?
unusually quiet for a gray. When he was a baby, I did not know much about parrot ownership 29 years ago. My experience was a pair of lovebirds. And I mean, Tico taught me. Tico taught me the only place you need to touch me, Mom, is the top of my head. I can preen the rest myself. So that's fine. We'll do that. But Tico's always had his own ideas. But he's taught me. But when he was a baby, every time he got noisy, we would ignore him and tell him to whisper in a loud stage whisper. So his favorite activity is telling off the rest of the flock and telling them to whisper, right? Oh, you're not liking that camera, buddy, huh? Yeah, just look at that body language.
Yeah.
Mom, there's a camera in my face and there's a strange bird and I don't know what's going on. So I'm going to back the camera off, Tico. And then I'm going to move Max back into the camera space and then I'll recenter things. Oops. Here we go. There you go, Max. There's a wheelie.
Okay.
And now I can zoom back out. I really had to zoom in there to get Tico to fit on the screen. Quite a size difference there between the two boys.
I think there's a size difference between Max and every other bird.
Even other Moluccans. I mean, Max is just a giant.
Max is a very big bird.
Isn't that right, Max? I'm gonna just walk this back a little bit further. Sorry, I'm tripping the tripod on things a bit. There you go.
Are you a calmer? Now, do you want a head scratch there, Tila? Come here. Do you want a head scratch? No.
Oh,
You're getting a
Joseph
little
is
bit calmer.
asking, what is the best beginner bird? I think that's a great question, Brian.
What was the question again?
What is the best beginner bird?
Oh, I personally, I would say a cockatiel or a conure. I think those are really great beginner birds. They're beautiful birds. They're so friendly. Now, I will say, like generally, you'll find if you have one conure or one cockatiel, they'll be very friendly with you because you'll be their person. They're human. Sometimes if you get two cockatiels or two conures, they might not be as friendly with you. So doesn't mean that's the case all the time because many times it isn't, but it can be the case. But no, I personally, my recommendation are conures or cockatiels.
Yeah. I always include lovebirds and budgies. People think budgies are small, but they are packed with personality. And lovebirds, they were actually my first birds, and they are just tiny birds. They've got such attitude, and they can be super, super friendly. That was my first bird experience.
Yeah, I've never had budgies. But I do. But my first bird basically would have been budgies and a cockatiel. But it said before I adopted this guy a few years ago, and I just because he'd had a few homes and needed a home, didn't really want a conure, but just fell in love with them. They're just a beautiful little bird. Say hi, Kiwi.
Wow. Yeah. No, I mean, that happens though, and there's so many birds out there who need a home and who are looking for a new situation. I always encourage people adopt, don't shop, and by that I
Yes.
just mean there's so many birds in rescues, and the rescues are overflowing. A lot of people say, "Well, I want a baby. I don't want just older bird." But what I always remind people is that baby is going to grow up and it's going to have its own attitudes and everything else. You're better off meeting a slightly older bird who you know the personality of, if you're going to get along, and they can be absolutely sweet. I mean, Max is probably the example of the one bird, the way he was when I met him. Nobody can handle him. He would draw blood as soon as he looked at you. He was mean. He was noisy. I mean, Amityville Horror with wings. And I mean, you look at him today, he's just such a sweetie. He just needed some rules. He needed consistency. He needed love. He needed trust. And trust was a big one for him learning. But, you can, even if you've got a bird who has some some habits, you can turn that right around. When Max gets really, really angry, sometimes he'll revert to some of his screams from when he lived in the basement and when he was yelled at. So, I mean, he's told me what things were yelled at him. I mean, when he gets really angry, I will hear him yelling SHUT UP Max. And you notice
Hmm.
I don't say those words around him because those words were never said with love.
Yeah.
And I promised him I would never tell him to do that. I'll ask him to hush. I'll ask him to whisper, but I don't use the words that were yelled at him in hate and in anger. And I'm not even sure if it was hate. I think it was frustration. But
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I figured out what he was yelling, I was standing outside my house. Max was inside and he was just screaming his head off. And I'm outside and the car was running. Actually, I just pulled up to the house. Car was running and I could hear Max screaming and he was screaming loud enough I could hear him in the car. And normally it was just noise, but because I had a little bit of distance, I could make out what he was screaming. And oh yeah, he was just going at it and telling himself to SHUTUP and a few other things. And the poor guy, that's the way that his life had become. Now, I mean, I don't raise my voice with him. If he gets in trouble, he gets his full name, Maxwell. I know you didn't deserve a Maxwell, did you, buddy? But I mean, he's really well behaved. He's well tempered. Sometimes loves a little bit too much, on outings. With things like avian flu and whatnot, I'm always cautious about who's handling him. And one thing I'm mindful about is Max can sometimes play Velcro bird. And I don't care if he plays Velcro bird on a member of the Parrot Club. I mean, Brian, if he climbs on you and refuses to get off, you're not going to be panicking. You're not going to be freaked out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, if I need to get between you and the bird to pick up Max, well, sorry, Brian, I'm going to climb inside your arm to get between you and Max. I mean, that's that. But with a stranger, it's sometimes a little harder. But Max, he spends so much time with me. He does not have that handoff happening so often.
Yeah.
So I'm always cautious who he hands off to, and that person's not going to be freaked if he says, I'm comfortable here. He's got a short attention span and he'll come back to me, but sometimes he just says, I'm going to stay here for a bit. He's got his
Man,
own
he's so
ideas.
wonderful. I love it when I have Max. He's such a great bird. He's such a great bird to be with. I think to go back to your comment about, yeah, like I always would say, always adopt versus buy a bird. And there's just lots of birds, and wherever you live, there will be parrot shelters in those cities or communities. The one thing about adopting a bird that's amazing, and Nicole, you touched on it, is the bird chooses you, right? So the bird, you'll know right away whether if you're that person for the bird. So Tila, who I adopted, Tila does have a history of aggression. One of the reasons why he was surrendered. But the first time I met Tila, Tila just stepped up for me, and I just think my ability generally, and again, a little bit harder today because of a bit of the hormone situation, but just generally, Tila is fine with me, and he has a history of aggression. So again, I think it's just more of a comfort level. So always with a bird that you adopt, the bird will choose you, and you'll know right away if it's the right bird for you, whether that's a big bird, or whether that's a small bird like a cockatiel or a conure.
Yeah, what I love about the rescues is they actually vet people and they check
Yeah.
into the situations and they say, is this going to be a good match? They play matchmaker. And sometimes people get frustrated and they say, well, they wouldn't let me adopt. Okay, let me get this straight. You're 18, you just moved out on your own, you want to get a big bird, you don't have a stable living situation, you're living up, please, Max. You don't have a stable living situation. You don't know where you're going to be in a couple of years. You're renting. That's going to be a really bad match for a really big bird. So they're going to say, wait a few years until you're stable because that bird's not going to understand if you want a divorce in a couple of
Yeah.
years. So they always try to make sure there's a good match, right? They're not going to match you with a bird that's a one person bird if you've got a big family. They're not going to match you with a bird who hates kids if you have kids. And
Yeah.
it's always going to be a good match. Well, almost always. And they're going to offer some support after the fact too. And that's what I love about groups like Mika's and
Very
Greta's.
true.
They do
Yeah.
lifetime support. They're always there. But it's really about putting the bird first, not the people first. And
Yeah.
that's a tough one for people.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why, like, for example, like for a lot of the rescues, they will, either they'll have fosters, right? And it's one thing about fostering a bird is you get to know the bird's personality. So I
Oh, yeah.
fostered Taylor before I adopted, realized that he was good with me, but aggressive with a lot of people. So I
Yeah.
had shown big signs of aggression. But, I just think that ability to foster, right away what the bird is like, and you can provide that information back to the shelter. So again, as you said, Nicole, when it's placed, they can say good with kids, not good with kids, good with men, good with women. Just always get an idea of what that bird is like so they find the right home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that's so important. I mean, it's finding that right match and making sure it's the right match. Now, Max and myself, we would never have been matched, if by a rescue, because the rescue would have said, hey, Max loves men, hates women. This is
Yes.
not a good match. But, Max, it did work out with us because it took years, but it worked out. And I always tell my friend Robin from Parrot SOS, that if I would have, oh, shush, shush. If I would have met Max, or met her earlier, like, I might have made that connection with Max sooner. I was just stubborn, and Max is stubborn, and we worked it out. But we would have definitely had a better situation a lot earlier on. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel blessed every time I put a harness or a hoodie on Max, every time I step outside with him, every time he gives me a cuddle, because I remember the angry boy that I met. But first thing I taught Max was there were rules. He was shocked. It's like, what are these rules? Second thing I taught him is that they applied to him. And I was consistent, wasn't I, buddy? Yeah. He told me a lot of tales just from his actions and his words, what he'd gone through, and that was fine. But I mean, he just needed a good situation. He just needed to be somewhere where he had consistency. He knew what to expect. He's been super fortunate. Last 5 years, I've been working from home.
Yeah.
COVID, it was a wonderful thing. One of the wonderful things from COVID is it transitioned so much to work from home. And at the start of COVID, I ended up getting a new job working in Toronto, and I'm in Calgary right now. And I didn't have to relocate, I just worked remotely. And oh gosh, did it ever work out well? Well, it worked out well until they did layoffs the other week. But there's a lot of good opportunities out there for remote work or a hybrid where you are working remotely a lot more of the time. And that's what I'm really hoping to find just for the flock. But
Yeah.
Max, like when I was looking for a job until I knew what it was happening, I would actually disappear upstairs. I've got the house and I'm hiding out in the bedroom upstairs because hey, um, I don't want Max to get the idea I'm going to be around all the time. And now, he's used to me working from home, which means he gets breakfast, he gets time through the day, but he hangs out downstairs while I work upstairs, and that one works out super well for the flock. Like they know I'm going to be around, and they just know that there's certain circumstances about how I'm around. Tico, did you want some? Look, there it
But
is.
yeah, it's interesting comments like around and some of the comments on the live stream, like, yeah, be mindful where you live, right? So obviously
Oh,
depending
yeah.
where you live, you might need a quieter bird versus a noisier bird, and it's important to take that into consideration. Be mindful that you got to be able to afford the birds, right? So, there's food, there's vet bills. So be mindful of how many birds that you have. I know with me, I know my max is the 4, right? Probably 3 is an ideal number, but I don't want more than that. And again, Kiwi wanted a home, and I wasn't not going to give Kiwi a good home. I know you're not going to like Kiwi here, will you? There, but yeah, you're fine, Frost. Kiwi's not going to attack you. You can see the size difference between the two.
Oh, yeah.
But but yeah, I find with me, just know how many you want. Know you got to be able to afford them and give them obviously a happy life and a loving life. And It's so good. I go to work, so I do go. I don't work from home. I'm home today, but I don't work from home. But my birds are used to it. So birds love routine, right? So the biggest thing is routine. So my birds know they get up in the morning, they have breakfast or they're given breakfast. I go to work, and then it's great. And then they're used to it, and they know I come home from work. So the routine is so important.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They do love their routines. What I find about the flock, and I find this really interesting with the two Moluccans. I mean, they're so different from each other. Uh, it, Max, what are you doing? Climb back up, honey. Climb back up. We're not going there. Tico just dropped his toy. Max, do you want to play a game while I'm talking? Max is getting a little bit restless, so I'm going to zoom out and set him up for a game. Hey Max, we're not going to scream. We're going to play a game, okay? You want to play catch? Let's see. Where are your toys?
Hey,
Max, let me
Max.
see all your toys. Here we go. All right, we'll get them set up for a game of catch. Now, Max, do you want to turn around and play catch? I'm just going to toss down something on your poop because I really don't want to toy land in that. Okay, there's some paper. So, Max, do you want to turn around and play catch? Turn around. Turn around. Catch. Want to play catch? How about I throw things on the floor instead? Does that work for you, Max? Let's turn it. Actually, let's turn it around this way because I'd like you to step onto your perch. There you go. It's a better spot.
Max is playing catch.
He loves playing catch. He just grabs things out of the air.
Love that.
He taught Mango how to play catch. Mango catches with his foot half the time, and Mango gets super excited. But I was talking about the differences between birds, like even the same species. Like I've got two Moluccans. I got Chestnut the right way, honey. There you go. That's a tough one. I've got two Moluccans, but they are so different. Mango absolutely needs his routine. If we miss bedtime, he turns into an absolute monster. He's the gremlin if he does not get his sleep. And the rest of my flock, I mean, if I miss and I put them to bed accidentally at 1 a.m., they're fine by it. They're fine the
Yeah.
next day. They just nap. Whereas Mango, oh, he goes super hyper, super excited, super upset. Stand tall, honey. Stand tall. Stand tall. There you go.
I used to my Fozzie, my Amazon Fozzie used to put himself to bed every night at 7:30 p.m. He'd walk over to his cage and climb in and go to his sleeping perch. I saw a question on the live stream when I go to work. They said, "Do you put them in cages or do you let them free roam?" So I do put them in cages when I'm at work. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is it's safer for them, right? If they were free roam, if there was a bird fight, it wouldn't be good for it could be very dangerous. Or if they got into something, right? Some birds chew power cords, they chew things. So you wouldn't want them chewing things and not be home and not being supervising. So it is better for them to be in the cage. And I find with the birds, really important that your birds like their cage, love their cage. And if they love their cage, then they'll be fine in their cage when you're at work or at night. So it's actually, I'm a big believer that you should never let a bird free roam and have free roam. I believe cages are quite important. And a cage to a bird is kind of like us, as like could be our house or our bedroom, right? It's a little bit of a sanctuary. So
Oh
really
yeah.
important. So my birds love their cage and never complain. Even if I'm home and I decide to put them in their cage, they're fine with it. They're happy because they love their cages. Really important. But generally, when I'm home, they'll be out of the cage. But it's so important for them to actually love their cage.
Oh, so true. So true. Max will sometimes climb into his cage to go play there because, hey, that's where the toys are. That's where he wants to
Yeah,
play. And I really encourage that because it means if I'm out, it's not a terrible thing for them. They've got a pretty good situation. They're happy, and it really is for safety. If I'm not in the room,
yeah.
I don't have them out because a bite can happen so easy.
Yep.
Chomp through a power cord, absolutely. Mango is my little escape artist. He's a little Houdini,
Mm. Yep.
and he knows it. When he first came, he got out of his cage 3 times in as many days, and he helped out with groceries. I'd gotten groceries, and I'd unpacked the cold stuff, but not the dry stuff. Those were just sitting in bags, and I thought I'd do
Yep.
that after work. I'm working upstairs, and I heard something, and I went down to see what was going on. And Mango was quite proud of himself. He noticed I had a number of containers of grapefruit juice. He chewed the lids off of all those, and he thought he'd check out what was in the box. You know,
Well,
it
that's
didn't
funny.
take him long,
Yeah.
and he thinks that's his. And what's he doing anything wrong? No, he was doing what he thought was right. He was exploring. But there's
Yeah.
so many stories of a bird who gets out when the owners are not home, and goodbye kitchen cupboards. That's a really expensive chew toy. Um,
So true. Fozzie was funny. Every time I went to work, Fozzie, he would go in his cage and he would check every door, every food, water bowl door to see if there was one just slightly not locked properly. And a couple of times he found one that wasn't locked, and I would come home and he would just be sitting on his perch, just sitting in the perch on top of his cage, waiting for me to come home. But yeah, he was my escape artist.
oh yeah. Well, Tico actually years ago he used to he was a little plotter. He's very intelligent. I would put out food and water before going to work, and occasionally I'd find him outside of his cage and I'd go, well, "How the heck did that happen? Your cage is closed." Well, what he would do is I'd turn on the light and he'd pretend he was fast asleep. I mean, if he could fake snore, he would have fake snored. And I'd go get food and water, and he very quietly walked out of the cage, went around to the outside of the cage, and unlocked the spare food bowl door. This is a door without a food bowl in it,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
just a spare side door. He'd unlock it, leave it shut, climb back into the cage, and close his eyes and pretend he was asleep. And I caught him doing this one day, and it's like, that's how he's getting out. But he'd climb out through the door, close the door, and then lock the door. So I'd walk in, I'd go, how the heck did I lock the cage without you in it? And he thought it was quite funny. Like he knew how to do it.
That's funny. I
But
will say, Max is a good catcher. He does a good job catching everything.
oh yeah, he's giving me a workout because I'm going to have to climb around and go pick up everything that he's tossed. But he's having fun. He absolutely loves playing catch. He was getting bored, so that's one of the reasons I'm playing catch with him right now. Tico's not a fan because he knows Max occasionally will wing something over his head and try to hit Tico. Um,
That's funny.
that was an old game. Max hasn't been playing it, but Tico's still aware that it could happen. Not right, Max. Oh,
Yeah,
good job, Max.
Sid the Amazon, she loves to throw things off her cage. So I throw them onto the top of her cage, and she grabs it and she throws it off. And then I throw it back on the cage and she goes over and grabs it. So it's like catch basically, but she doesn't catch it in the air, but loves to toss the stuff.
That's actually how we taught Max to play catch. I would toss it into that
Yeah,
silver food bowl that's behind him, and he'd
yeah,
toss it on the ground. And then what I would do is I'd take something, I'd toss it in the air a couple of times, and he'd get
yeah,
excited, he'd watch it, and then I'd toss it in the food bowl, and he'd toss it back to me. And he started tracking. And one day I thought I'd just see if I could toss something into his beak. Now
yeah,
there's a definite angle I need to throw things. Like I can't just throw it directly at him.
yeah.
But if I toss it up in the air, he's got a chance of grabbing it. Occasionally gets bopped in the beak by a toy, but he can catch small things. He can catch big things. You had some Lego around here earlier, buddy. I'm sure I'll find it when I step on it, but he can catch that. And he just loves playing this game, probably because it's interactive, and he knows that I can run around after stuff. Right, Max? Oops. And
That's
these
great.
baby bagels are great for it. He loves chewing on them. Occasionally, he'll catch one and just start chewing because he wants a good chew.
I
I
am
know
coming
that.
back. So I come back with Sid. Sid, you want to say hello again?
I did.
Yeah. Sid's a big or Sid. I called you Sid. You're Tila. I got the wrong name. Yeah, no, you're looking at me like I'm not Sid. I am Tila. Tila's a pretty big talker. She's quiet right now being on camera, but Tila usually is would be the biggest talker of all my birds. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Max has now got a piece of Lego he just caught that he's playing with. Oops. Dropped it. Usually that's the end of the catch game. I give him something he wants to chew on, and he just loves chewing on Legos. They're great. They're great for chewing on. Oh, they're great for tossing and getting people to step on them too, right, Max? Good job. Good job. Yeah, so Max is pretty happy. He just had some games. And now he's still looking at me and I'm saying, hey, I've got 100 pieces on the floor. I'll pick them up before we play again. But he gets very active with games. He likes anything that is interactive. If he can get
That's
me to
great.
do something, he's happy. Tico much prefers just playing quietly on his own. And Tico's gray. Amazon loves to play foraging games. He loves to. Right now, he's got a box he's destroying and scraping up that's on the bottom of his cage. I think it's a little bit of nesting behavior, but that's fine. He's busy and happy. He'll go after some wood, right? Mango's a big wood chewer. Mango just absolutely loves shredding wood. Up, please. Up, Max. Up. I said so. We're not climbing down. I know. Well, you did good, Max. What would you like? What would you like? Um, I know, but you
You
did
can see.
good. Yeah, so you notice how Tico has settled down now that things are no longer flying. He's a lot
Yeah.
calmer. He's not thinking he might have to go for a flight. Is that right?
And you can see here, I'm giving Tila a little scratch under his neck. He loves having his under his beak scratched. Don't you? What do
Oh
you think,
yeah.
bud? Huh? You want a head scratch?
Max, what do you think about for? Think about that? I think just going to shift Max out of the picture for a bit and shift onto Tico. Um, sorry, it'll just take me a minute here just to chase down Tico. Are you going to stay put? You got it. Good
Thanks,
job.
Sid.
Good job.
How you doing, Sid? Yeah.
Good job, Max. Except I did not like you to go over there.
And this is Sid now. I have Sid, my other Amazon, is now. She's doing her stop talking to me, aren't you? What are you trying to say?
Hi.
Do you want to say hi to Max?
Honey. Oh boy, yes. You are new, are you? Climb up there.
Love that red tail on the grays. Always amazing. What do you think, Sid? Huh?
And Chico is quite a looker.
He's a beautiful gray.
Yeah, he's so quiet. He's so different from all the other grays I've met. Max.
Yeah, Emily, you're right. They all have their own personalities, very much so. It's amazing the personalities, and they're all different. Like you'd think one Amazon would be like another, or one gray's like another, and it's just not the case. They're all so unique.
Oh, completely different.
Yeah,
Completely different.
that's funny.
Oh,
Your brother would like the Green Bay Packers.
oops, I'm losing a Tico. I'm just bringing Tikal back out, but Tikal's going to get the big perch. And Tikal.
Yeah.
Hey.
So saw a question about birds flying around. So the big birds I find don't really fly around. They fly point to point. They'll fly from one perch to another. I have perches in the house. The little birds will fly around more. So smaller birds more likely to fly around your house. The big birds less so, which is good because you don't really want the big birds flying around like crazy. But I just like Max and Nicole, I take my birds for walks. I take them out. So either I put them in a harness. You'll see Max offset on the harnesses, but I also have backpacks that I put the birds in where they have a perch and I can take them out for walks. So I always make sure when the weather's warm that they get lots of opportunity to get outside.
Yeah, one thing Tikal absolutely loves are spray bottle baths. What?
Yes.
Here, you want one? Oh, he usually just loves them. He usually just starts lifting up the wings. Wing,
Yeah, yeah.
wing.
My guys like to be sprayed too.
Yeah, he's my water baby. Aren't
The
you, buddy?
Amazons love the water, I think, more than the Greys do.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're dripping now. Good job.
What do you
Good
think,
job.
Sid?
Hi, Pico. What was that? Did you get wet? Whatever. Hey, Tikal, who do you see on the screen? Do you see another Amazon? See another Amazon?
So Sid loves to say whatever, especially when I'm putting Sid to bed. What will Sid say when I say it's bedtime? Sid will go, whatever.
We're not climbing down. I said we're not climbing down. Hi. Would you like some? Come here. Check your food bowl. What do you think?
Yeah.
Squishies. What's up, Chico?
Yeah, whatever is very sassy. Sid loves to say whatever.
Flight of the bird.
But it's always in context of something she doesn't want to do.
You got a teenager.
Is that true? Well, you are. You're like a 22-year-old girl, so you are a bit like a teenager. Is that why? Yeah. Where'd you learn that? Where'd you learn that? Yeah, where'd you learn that saying?
Yeah, and now it's all about Tikal. Tikal. Turn around, honey. Turn around. I know, Tikal. Because I said no. We're not climbing down there. Tikal loves to climb around, likes to climb under things. Gotta wash my hands here.
Your head scratch?
Job. Good job, Tikal. Yeah, so Tico just went for a bit of a fly. He just flew down to the ground. He decided he'd had enough and he wanted to get away from the camera. So now he's actually munching away in his cage. We've got a bit of noise happening from the rest of the flock, but I mean, that's part of the course. You know, if you have birds, you know they're going to be noisy. A little bit. Right here.
Someone just posted they're 22. I have that attitude when I see my bills. Yeah, you have that attitude when you see your bills, no matter how old you are. Yes, that's funny, right? Yeah, especially the vet bills. You are right, Emily. Hmm? What do you think there, Sid?
Tikal, are you a good boy? I know you got the camera on ya. Look at all that bright light.
Hi, Tikal.
Yeah. No, Tikal does not spend a lot of time on camera. He usually likes to climb and hide in things. My favorite was when he was opening Christmas gifts. You show him a bag, he'll climb inside the bag. He has no fear. He just dives right on in, and he thinks that it's what he's supposed to do, and just climbs right in. But he
That's
likes to play
great.
hide and go squeak.
Oh, I love it.
Don't you, buddy?
Yeah, if anyone ever wants to see more of these birds, the Instagram is Fozzie and Friends, FOZZIE _and friends, and Fozzie and Friends, and all these guys are on there, plus some other pets that my daughter and I have, all rescues, all of them have been adopted.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll share out the Instagram a bit later as well. It's
That's
so good
great.
to see so many folks joining us today.
Yeah,
It's kind of weird, sort of trying go live with somebody because we have not done this in quite a while.
yeah.
But yeah, Tikal's having a bit of a munch right now. I'm just going to turn him so we can see him a little bit better. Yeah, what you got? He's got some yam in there. He found a bit of popcorn. Yeah, was there popcorn in there, honey? Yeah,
No, it's
Tikal
great to see how many people have joined.
yeah, Tikal can hold food with his foot, but he prefers food to be held in a bowl. And he's definitely getting older. I mean, he's 49,
Yeah,
and I've noticed a few things. I mean, he does not get around as well as he used to. He's a lot more careful.
yeah,
Um, gravity enforced here. He used to just be kamikaze. Now he steps cautiously, but he's definitely having vision issues when it gets dark, especially if I'm holding a treat and it's dark. He'll mistake my finger for the treat. He'll just
yeah.
stick his beak where he thinks it should be. So I just compensate by sticking the treat into his beak when his beak comes towards me. It works out better for both of us. Um, he does better in full light, but like us, right? Birds can get cataracts and everything else. They get a little bit
Yeah.
older.
Well, I see it
It,
in kiwi for sure. Kiwi's eyesight is not great, so I definitely see it in kiwi game. Why I think he's definitely an elder, and then he arthritis, so he's on meds for arthritis, and he doesn't have the ability to preen his tail feathers anymore. Right? He just can't get back there.
yeah,
So I help him by preening his tail feathers, and then he's on medicine to make it a little bit better. But just like humans, right? They get older, and can't move around as much.
well, just like us. But the flock does their best to make sure that I'm kept young. I mean, they make sure I touch my toes 100 times a day, picking up after them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
always laugh. I try to do 10,000 steps a day, and I'm pretty sure that by the time I give all these birds their breakfast and get them ready for the day, I've done 2,500 steps before I even leave my house in the morning. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure.
isn't
It
that
keeps you
true?
busy.
Yeah, I mean, I the best thing I've ever picked up for cleaning up after the birds have been one of the broom and dustpans that are standing.
Yeah,
So I just actually leave it sitting in the room, and I just grab it, scoop stuff up into it because the floor is always crunchy. I mean,
yeah,
it's going to happen when you have birds. That's the best
for
thing I've ever
sure.
done. But all the toys, I mean, you're always picking those up, and they love to toss toys on the floor.
They
You got
do.
good yet?
So, Nicole and Max, I'm going to have to go in a couple of minutes at 1:15. And I just wanted to put out there, is there any other questions anyone has for Tila or Sid or Kiwi or what's your name back there? Frost. Just want
I
to
just
make sure
can't
any
say
final
goodbye, Frost.
opportunity to ask questions before we got to put all these guys back in their cage soon.
So, oh, Barbara's saying she's enjoying it. It's educational.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah,
Um,
no, I appreciate that. It's always wonderful to talk and have nice, active listeners who are interested in what you're talking about. But no, I will say thank you. This was a pleasure to join. Always good to see Max and the flock, Nicole, and always happy to join again. But no, it's really pleasure being joining everyone today.
yeah. Well, I've got one question for you, Brian. If
Yeah.
you're talking to a bird owner, what's the biggest tip you can give another bird owner? What's the most important thing, whether they're young or they've had birds for decades?
I would always say, like, go slow, right? Especially if it's a new bird, right? Take your time. Sometimes people want the bird to be friendly right away, and it takes time for a bird, especially if it's new. The other thing is, a lot of people, especially new bird owners, want their birds to talk. Not all parrots talk. And it's important to know that. And it's funny, I almost prefer parrots that don't talk too much because sometimes if they talk a lot, they're very repetitive on the same word. So my guys all have words. Every one of my birds has a few words that they say. But yeah, I always just say don't assume a bird talks, but just always if it's a new bird to you, whether you're just meeting the bird or it's yours, just go slow. So I'll have people over and they want to hold the birds right away and touch them right away. And you just got to go slow with them. That's all. They're not like a dog. But once they become attached to you, you see Max with Nicole or the videos of me and Max, once they become attached to you, they're just absolutely the most wonderful pet.
Absolutely. Now, I love what you just said about talking. And I think there's always that key too, that there's a difference between talking and communicating. Some birds just talk for the sake of talking and making the sounds. It's a
Yeah.
song. But even if a bird does not talk, they communicate. They
Yes.
have different body language. It's so important to learn. I mean, you can really go a long ways. Tico does not talk a lot, nor does Max. And what I love about the two of them is they use words in context. Tico will
Yes.
tell everybody to whisper when they get noisy. Max he's getting so much better about using words and he tries to figure out when to use them. If he sees a group of kids outside, he'll shriek, "It's a parrot," because that's
Yeah.
what they tend to shriek at him. So he thinks
Yeah.
it's the greeting. But I find it so fascinating. Like not that long ago, we were out walking and Max, he's like a toddler, he's figuring out language. And he said, "How I am," rather than "How are you?" And I just
Yeah.
laughed because it was so funny. But even if
And
Max doesn't have the
a lot
words,
is in context. And when I come home, they all say hi. When I leave the house, one or two of them will say bye. There's very much in context. And I like the fact that they talk a little bit, but they don't talk too much. But you're right. They communicate with their body language. They have their own sounds that they communicate. And, knowing that obviously is so important.
oh yeah. Well, what gets me about Max is just the way he communicates. Like one day we were out for a walk and he decided to tell me sun lobster. Well, I have no idea what a sun lobster is. And he just kept saying sun lobster. Now, we play with flashcards a lot. So he figured out that lobsters are a deep shade of red and he knows what the
Yeah.
sun is. And he did not know how to warn me I was getting a sunburn. So sun lobster was his way of trying to tell
Yes.
me the sun turned me red.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just so endearing when they come out with something and you go, how on earth did you figure that out? It's like that is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Tikal
It,
talks,
it,
but
it is.
he babbles. It's hello, hello, hello,
Yeah.
or bird breath, or mumbles. He doesn't really use it in context, do you, buddy? But it's really so much fun. Like even if they're not talking a lot, like just having them around.
Birds are amazing. They're amazing pet, amazing companions. They can be loud. They can be messy, as all animals can. But I wouldn't have anything else but birds. But I do need to run, Nicole and
Yeah.
Max. So I do want to say thank you again to both of you and the flock, and thank you to everyone who's listening and all the questions. And yeah, thanks everyone, and thank you, John Anderson.
Awesome.
Great to have you on there. And I'm going to put my little guys in their cage and I will wish everyone a wonderful day.
Awesome, Brian. I'll share out your Instagram handle
Thank
with
you.
all your friends.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
Talk,
guys. Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Bye, Max. Bye, Nicole. Bye, Max. Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
Brian. Good job.